Hey, sports fans, welcome on in. It's the Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell here. So glad you could join the show. I know I've been off for a moment, and I apologize for that. I don't like to apologize at the beginning of the show, but I need to. I've had some interesting health issues. I actually got pneumonia, and it was rather tumultuous. It's been an interesting ride with several visits to the hospital, but it looks like we're on the mend. So we're excited. And again, I apologize. I love doing the show, and just so glad to be here. So glad that we're actually doing more of the show today. This can be a fun show. It's a great show. There's a lot of just amazing things going on in the world of sport. There's so many amazing things going on in the world of sports, as there always is. I want to, okay, so this is an interesting time of year, and I kind of want to touch on some of the things that I go through in my life in this springish time. We're getting into April. Of course, the flowers are blooming, the trees are budding, and all that fun stuff. And it's just hope springs eternal. So it's a very exciting time of the year, and I go through some of these things where I don't know if they've become rituals for me, and so here let me just explain for a minute what I'm talking about. One of the rituals is I get on the NBA standings, and I've had to do this now for the last 4 years, and I've watched my beloved Utah Jazz, and I look to see where they are, because it's too painful for me to watch. I'm a diehard fan who is so uninterested, but interested to my core. And I realize the pain that they're going through right now. I realize this is a hopeless season, but why I tune into things is because I want to see how close they are to the bottom. I just want to make sure they stay in that, area where they're going to have the highest percentage of odds of, getting a high draft pick. Because it looks like this year's draft is going to be good. And it looks like really the Utah Jazz are turning the corner. They're going to start being competitive and making some runs at the playoffs here in the future. So that's kind of one of the things that I do. Now, the other thing I do is oh my goodness, I got so much I want to talk about. We'll see how we get to this. I'm not going to panic. So the other thing I do is, of course, watch March Madness. And I have to tell you, we're going to run this clip because this to me exemplifies why this NCAA men's basketball tournament is so amazing. It's the best sporting event that we have, and I want to run this clip, and I want to show you kind of what I'm talking about, because it kind of broke my back. My bracket is busted. I had Duke going all the way, and they're out, and so I'm out. But I'm really in. So I wanted to show this to you, because I just think it's just absolutely amazing.
Through the ball, who better than this guy? Get it into Boozer, back for Sarr, ahead, Boozer, that ball deflected and stolen by Mullins. Caravan, 2 seconds, Mullins tosses it out. Oh! It's good! We're point three! UConn goes in front!
I mean, I don't know. I looked up on the clock, and it said 5 seconds. So I tried to get the ball to somebody who had made one in the game, and he wanted to throw it back. So, I mean, I saw 3 seconds. It was the last shot. Just happy to see that go in. So, man, I'm so happy.
I seen Braylon for some reason. I just had that gut instinct to pass it to him, and I think I looked at the rim and I saw we had like 5 seconds left, so I was like, maybe something better could develop. Because I think I had Cam Boozer in front of me, so like a harder, more difficult shot. So I passed it to Braylon, and when I saw him release it, I was like, that really might go in. And I went in and the Indiana kids sending us to Indianapolis. So, I mean, every time Braylon shoots, and from no matter where, it looks like it's going in.
All right. I gotta. We're not gonna. So these are 10 different angles of this final play out of this game, and there's just nothing better than this. Like March Madness is so incredible, and the human emotion, the human drama, and to see it from all sides of it. You have Carlos Boozer like oh poo poo, and he's like, uh-oh, that's bad. And then you see Coach Donovan's mom, right? To me, that's just the classics. Like she's like, holy effing poo poo. It's like it's just so classic. And then just the raw emotion and the excitement and just the utter agony. Cause my pick was Duke, and that shot just put a dagger in my bracket. And I'd been doing pretty good up to that point, but what an incredible moment. But I love the passion from all of the fans, and that's both sides of it. Just you have so much invested in it, you care so much about it, and it means so much when you win, the jubilation of all of it. And I mean, this is going to be an agonizing thing for one of the Boozer brothers, where he had two guys just wide open. I mean, you get him the ball and the game's over, and they just, and you sit there and you go, should he have passed it down low? Should he have done something where, I think they're just trying to move the ball and get it gone, so that they don't get fouled. And it's literally a partially tipped basketball away from being a victory. It's just such an improbable end to what was happening with this basketball game, and it was just an epic game. Of course, we talked about this before March Madness started. Just some of these iconic moments that have happened, and of course Christian Laettner, had a shot that kind of sent Duke in that trajectory, and now it's another team doing it to Duke, and it happens, and it wasn't the only time that this happened in the tournament, and that's what makes it just so incredibly great. And you have to wonder, like, almost looked like it was a backcourt. I mean, there's just so many little things, that just could go one way or another, and it's just that's that sliver of a margin between the success and failure of all of these teams is just it's just so fun to watch. I mean, that's what we love about doing this, and I wanted Duke to win. I'm a Duke fan, actually, and have been for a long time. And so, but I just can't get over Coach Don. Just his jacket's half off, and of course one of his coaches half rips it off in their excitement, and he doesn't care. He's not like, all decorum is out the door. I mean, all decorum, like, you lose your ever living mind in those situations, and he's head bumping officials, and the referee. I think the referee was as stunned as anyone else. Like, I think he was just sitting there going, yeah, let's do this thing. Let's headbutt, let's kind of let it roll. It's fine. I know that. I mean, how can I be upset at you? You just won the freaking game. It's not like you're headbutting me and I made a terrible call. It's just like you're just the warm human body that I'm out of my mind right now, that I've just come in contact with. Like, there, I wouldn't even know that you were the referee in the game. You're just a person, and you just happen to walk over to the sideline, and I happened to run into you in my excitement, and it's it's that pure emotion of sport that absolutely just I just love it. It just sends us through through the roof. And I don't know that you get it from any other sport like you do the men's basketball tournament. It's just magic. It's magic. It's magic that never, ever, ever disappoints at all. And of course, there was one thing that I also found fascinating about this whole scenario is you have fans, right? And the fans are cheering. They're going crazy. You got the Duke fans just going, okay, get the ball down the court. Just don't foul. Don't turn it over. Don't do anything. All we got to do is just one more pass, and everyone's talking. And then the UConn fans are like, find a way to get the ball, get the ball, get the ball, get the ball. And then the shot goes up. And there's this crazy noise and excitement until that moment. And then everyone stops. The sound stops, the screaming stops, nobody says anything. And it's like everyone literally says, okay, I'm gonna hold my breath right now. And everyone goes, and they don't say anything. They just stop and they all just look and they look and they look and they're watching, and no one's speaking, no one's screaming, no one's cheering, nothing, silence. And then boom. And then it's just like a bomb exploding. And then it just goes crazy. But I never realized that there's that moment of silence. And that is just one of the coolest, here you have this sporting event that's absolutely insane, right? And you're going bananas with the whole thing. And then in the midst of all of that just chaos, that craziness, there's that silence that really turns into this just massive eruption of joy or agony. And it's just so compelling. And I just couldn't get over, that whole scenario. And so here, I've got my spring moving forward. I have my Jazz losing positioning, right? They're being strategic right now. They've put their money where their mouth is. They've had to pay fines. They've had to, they've had to admit to tanking. They've had to do all that stuff. And here they go. Now, another interesting thing happening this spring, of course, is the beginning of the Major League Baseball season. And a lot of excitement about baseball, always one of those rites of passage, and there's been some discussion about, how the opening day was handled and all that stuff. And who cares? It started, but there's a significant shift with Major League Baseball right now. And that shift is it's the ABS, right? Automatic balls, strikes, challenges. And that's a new thing. And we could talk in length about the strategy of this and how to employ it and excuse me, when to call the plays or to challenge and do that. And it's almost like gambling, right? Because you have two challenges, and if you get it right, you get to keep going, right? It's a no more whammies, no more whammies, no more whammies, like one of those game shows. And so, and the Yankees actually went 5 for 5 yesterday in their challenges, so they were pretty on top of it. And to me, it's going to be interesting to see how it moves forward, right? I think it's going to find its place. It's going to be one of those things where, I'm sure there's going to be some, agonizing calls with it, whether, they call third strike to end the game, they challenge it. It's not, they still have a challenge left or whatever. I mean, it could, it certainly could, if impact things. Now, a lot of statistics have shown that it's in the spring anyways, that it's kind of a 50-50 proposition. The umpires are actually doing a pretty good job of things. Defensive players tend to have a better percentage than the offensive players. And so who knows, exactly what it is, but I think it's an attempt. And it's one of those things where, and I'm kind of surprised that it's just two. It's two challenge. I'm sure they don't want to sit here and question every single call that goes on, but because I'm sure they have to limit it. But Maybe it's like you get 2 during the game, and then maybe there's something reserved for the end of the game. Maybe you get one more challenge late. Like you get 2 throughout the game, and then 1 late in the game when it's certainly in a critical situation. So maybe that's a way to tweak it, whatever. And maybe hopefully they'll figure out. I personally like it, but one of the things that really stood out to me about this, especially after the Yankees going 5 for 5 on this, is look, when you're an athlete and you're out there playing a game, you have a really, really good sense of like, what is a ball and what is a strike. I mean, think about these catchers. Think about these pitchers. Think about these hitters. Think about the hundreds of thousands, if not more, balls and strikes that they've witnessed in their lifetime to get to the point that they're at. Like, they know what a strike is, and they know what a ball is. I mean, I think that the biggest challenge is the height of the batters, the top of the strike zone. Yeah, it's probably, kind of at their knees. It's probably pretty close for most guys, I would think, within a really slim margin of error. But you get some of these taller players, and they got a bigger strike zone. And it's based off of your height. It's not based off of, how you crouch in your stance or whatever. It's like you're 6'2", your strike zone's this, you're 5'11", your strike zone's that, and so it's there's a difference. There's no question about it. But the thing that really jumps out at me is, I think these players are pretty good at identifying what is a ball and a strike. I know, like, if you ever watch play, and I think it's in any sport, if a foul is called or it isn't called, or a penalty is called or it isn't called, the players know. Like, they're like, hey, wait a minute, you missed that. Like, and there's, I mean, it's a constant thing going on with coaches, with players, with the referees, with the officials, with all this stuff. They're saying, look, I know when a ball is a ball and a strike is a strike. And I know probably it's good. Now the other thing, I think that the same thing goes for an umpire. I mean, those umpires are sitting there, and they're looking at this as intently and as closely as possibly anyone. When you're the catcher, there is some distraction. There is, I got to catch the ball. I got to do this. I'm paying attention to, but the umpire's just, I'm right here. I'm right on. Now you can clearly see that some of these umpires are just like, whew. But the one thing that I think is really good about this ABS thing is it kind of takes away from, someone trying to kind of manipulate the game and for the sake of gambling, because that's really, I think, of any time in our world of sports, the absolute most critical time we're having about gambling being interjected into sport is today. Right? It's just everywhere. And so to taint it is easy. And you're going to go to the people that actually are the most vulnerable population, and it's really the ones making the least amount of money, the most to gain from this, and have the greatest capability of impacting a game. I don't know how. I guess you could impact the game in base. Certainly would be one of those things. Okay, I want to get to this story. Whew. Actually, you know what? We're going to take a break. And so there's kind of some fun things going on. But when we come back, I got a lot of stuff from the NFL, but I also have what happens when nature calls and you're playing in sports. This happened to Anthony Edwards at the tip-off of a basketball game in the NBA. And it might have been what happened to Tiger Woods. So we're going to talk about nature and when it calls, when the Down and Dirty returns.
The Pete Souza Show, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. You want to talk NFL draft? I don't know. How about we get you Todd McShay? You want to talk Big 12? We can get you the commissioner. Somebody about the Cowboys? How about we have on the owner, Stephen Jones? Pop culture? Michelle Beadle. I mean, we will bring on the people that you want to hear from. And these people don't join us because of me. They join us because of you. You got to watch this show, okay? It's got everything you need. Sports, hijinks, laughs. Did I mention hijinks? We'll see you on the Pete Souza Show. Now, we are under the 365 Sports umbrella. Check it out. I'm wearing a Tulane shirt. No idea why.
It's the Pete Souza Show. Sports, Pete.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Sports don't stop, and neither do we. Welcome to 365 Sports, your home for real conversations, original shows, and coverage that lives where sports actually happen. Join David Smoke, Craig Smoke, and myself, Paul Catalina, for in-depth interviews and local stories to the moments national media misses. 365 Sports brings you the voices, debates, and perspectives fans care about every single day. Subscribe now on YouTube, search 365 Sports, and never miss a moment because sports aren't seasonal. They're 365.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It's a Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell, so glad you could be a part of our show, our day, our life, all that fun stuff. Really, I love doing this. I love being part of your life. I've missed it when I'm gone. I'm on the mend though, and I'm excited about that too. It's no fun when you're sick, and it just happens. Just like nature just kind of happens sometimes. Anthony Edwards, of course, the great basketball player for the Minnesota Timberwolves. In fact, watch out for the Timberwolves. I think they're going to make a really serious push in the playoffs this year. Would not be surprised if they are in the mix. And of course, Ant will be a part of it, one of the most exciting players in the NBA right now. Well, he was suspiciously absent from the start of a recent game with the Timberwolves. And he basically, the explanation was he was supposed to start. He didn't start. And he came into the game shortly thereafter, had a very good game. But nature called. And it's kind of it's one of those funny things that, like, it's like when the astronauts are, up in space and they're in this really critical moment, and like, and he just ends up peeing in his suit, kind of thing. And I don't think people realize that, like, your bodily functions, life doesn't change. You magically have this different, makeup on if you're a professional athlete. It's like, no, you got to go. And when you got to go, you go, kind of thing. Now, there's it's a fascinating thing. And personally, I never experienced this. And I know there have been players from time to time who have experienced it. But for the most part, it's not one of those things that necessarily happens. Sometimes maybe it does happen. I mean, there's clearly times when players end up throwing up or something on the sidelines, or certain things like that, and for various reasons. It's weird how, and I don't know if it's because you're performing, but there's certainly, at least for me, that was, man, I had to go to the bathroom before a game. Like it was a thing. And a lot of the old NFL stadiums were horrible in their bathroom facilities. I think intentionally, it's a little gamesmanship. We're going to put you in the crappy locker room. We're going to make you feel bad. We're going to, all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, there's no walls, there's no privacy, there's no nothing. And you have, 47 nervous people plus coaches trying to fit into one bathroom stall. Not a pretty sight. So most of it happened though before, right? Because you're just like, you just get all those nerves out. And so, we do what we do when we get nervous, we go to the bathroom kind of thing. And then during the game, it doesn't happen. And a lot of times it doesn't happen during a game because you haven't eaten. Like you don't really eat a lot. And I would imagine, that there was always you get orange slices at halftime. That was kind of the thing. And today it may be different. They may have a gourmet buffet, meal set up for these guys now at halftime. And I'm sure there's so much about nutrition and about what to add, when to add it. But, the nerve part of it for me made it almost impossible to eat during a game. And it was also like, cause you expend a lot of fluid, sweat a lot. Right. And there was, and I was so sensitive to even like Gatorade. And so for me, I just had this process that I followed. And the process was when I came off of the field from a drive, whatever happened, I would drink Gatorade. So I would drink the Gatorade as I was exiting the field. That way it gave my body some time to kind of absorb that. And because there was taste to it and it did have, a reaction. Like, I couldn't drink that much Gatorade in a game, like, and to drink it as I'm going onto the field. So like the drive's just getting ready to start or something, and you feel like you just kind of need to, get some liquid in you. I always had water and always had water at timeouts. Like never ever was there Gatorade for me in a timeout. I don't even know if they did that. It's very possibly they could, but certainly the water during a timeout was a very important thing to me. And as I'm talking about this, I'm thinking of now after a game, very different story. Like after a game, you are so unbelievably hungry. You certainly don't have to go to the bathroom, but you're like hungry and thirsty. And one of the things that and I'm sure it's not that way anymore, but they always had drinks like Coke or soda or something. And for whatever reason, that was always the thing for me after a game that I think that quenched my thirst more than anything was drinking a soda pop. And I don't know why, but man, it just now other guys, they probably had their beverages and all their whatever. But for me, it was just because I don't drink, but it was just having a soda pop. That was the thing. And as I'm talking about this, I remember an experience I had as a young kid. And so I had this, and I've shared this story before. I went to a professional football game when I was 10, and it was the Houston Oilers, Pittsburgh Steelers, game ball, all that stuff. Well, I became a Houston Oilers fan. And so in the subsequent years, I went to 2 or 3 other games, and the Oilers played in Denver. And so I lived in Utah. And so it was really quick, short flight, cheap flight to go from Utah over to Denver, Colorado, and watch the Broncos and the Houston Oilers play each other. So we go to the game, and the Oilers win the game. And of course, you remember 77 when the Denver Broncos won the Super Bowl, or they went to the Super Bowl. And of course, Craig Morton was the quarterback. So I was waiting outside the locker room to get the players' autographs. So I was getting all the Houston Oilers autographs, and I remember sitting, and it was the old Mile High Stadium, and I was still kind of in the stand. I don't know how you ended up still in the stadium, but and I wanted to get some of the Denver Broncos autographs, and out walks Craig Morton, right? And so I'm like, oh man, this is Craig Morton. I was just this little kid, and so I said, could I get your autograph? And he had a Coke. He was actually drinking a Coca-Cola, and it was like in a paper cup. It's just he probably got it as he was leaving the locker room. And he said, "Hey, could you hold my drink for me?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding? Like, I've died and gone to heaven. I'm holding Craig Morton's Coca-Cola, and he's signing my autograph." And it was just one of those really funny moments when this player, and it just cracks me up to this time. And and I'm sure Craig Morton would never ever remember this. But I remember, I'll never forget that moment in my life that I got to hold a professional athlete's Coca-Cola at the end of the game, like the Mean Joe Green, hey kid, catch, where he throws him. It was a real life version of that experience, and it was just really one of those moments that I had. So, but having to go to the bathroom now, getting back to that, going from Craig Morton's Coca-Cola to going to the bathroom, it's there are guys that have gone to the bathroom like literally just kind of went, just on the field in their pants or wherever, and of course, they're offensive linemen, and no, this isn't a disparagement on offensive linemen because they're wonderful. They make the world go round. It's a beautiful thing with the offensive linemen. But what is and it's almost like one of these, like, yeah, I'm going to be about as disgusting as I possibly can be, and make you who have to just come in contact with me for the next 70 plays. Your life is just going to be miserable. Like, this is not going to be a pleasant experience for you. Now, there was one experience, and I'm a little hesitant. I'm a little hesitant to tell this one, and it's one of those things that kind of makes me a little nervous about these athletes, and like in golf today, there's this trend of white jeans, not jeans, but pants, right? And so these golfers are in these white pants, and they're they're always bending over to put their tee, the ball on the ground, or to read their putt, or to whatever. And I'm just like, man, I hope that everything is okay in that department, in the back end department, that, there's clean surfaces and what have you, because, it would be embarrassing to have a little eraser marks kind of thing going on there. And it's one of these things that just almost, it almost gives me anxiety. Anyone who wears white, whatever, in a context like that. And, there's sometimes when, you can just do everything you can possibly do and just not quite get things completely clean. So, it just really makes me nervous. And we had a player, and I'm hesitant to say his name because he's passed away, and he was a pretty remarkable player. But what the heck? And there's no disrespect to him. So Reggie Roby, who was an incredible punter, and Reggie was one of the most impressive things I ever saw in my NFL career. Like you witness like athleticism, and you go, wow. A lot of people go, man, watching Barry Sanders run, or Bo Jackson run, or watching Marino throw, or whatever. These just truly remarkable, special athletic feats. And one of the ones that I saw that was the most incredible was Reggie Roby, and punting. And it was like he punted the air out of a football. I mean, the contact, the sound, the just violence of all of it, the distance that it traveled. I mean, it was like his leg unhinged, and he had a very unusual body type. Like, most punters are slender, and they're they're kind of athletically built, and Reggie was built more like a long snapper. He was kind of thick, and couldn't have been a nicer guy. But man, could he punt the freak out of the football? I'm telling you. It was unbelievable. And of course he had a watch, because most punters, kickers they carry a watch around to kind of get to time like get offs, like from snap to punt, from snap to kick, from catch to, kick, whatever, so it's like, how quickly are you getting off your punts? And so he very famously left his watch on. And the joke was that he would punt the ball and then he would hit the timer on his watch to see how far he punted the ball, which wasn't the case. He just accidentally left it on. But Reggie was like unbelievable. Now we were going out onto the field for a game, and Reggie, he was a crowd favorite, and he liked to kind of get out in front of the crowd. So as the team came out on the field, he liked to kind of be the first one out onto the field. And so he's walking onto the field, or not the field, but from the locker room to go onto the field, and he's way out in front of everyone. And of course we have white uniforms on, and there's a little mark there, and a bunch of players go, should we tell him? Should we let him know? And everyone's like, no, just leave it alone. No, let him go. So he marches onto the field. Now I don't know if any fan would even notice it or recognize it, but it was clearly there. So nature calls. Now recently, that's what apparently Tiger Woods is saying that was the cause of his DUI arrest, was that he got distracted because nature was calling, and therefore it caused him to flip his vehicle over. I don't know that I've ever had that happen, that dramatic from anything. I do know that I've had to go before when I've been driving, and it is a challenging thing. In fact, I asked a highway patrolman once. I said, "What have you ever not given someone a ticket?" And he said that about the only reason was like they had to go, and it was it was a bad situation. Okay, John Harbaugh, the new head football coach of the New York Giants, had a comment about the potential of OBJ returning to the old New York Football Giants. And that really kind of, I don't know, piqued my interest, I guess, a little bit, and piqued it from the sense of like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Right? To a player returning to the scene of the crime, and what actually is a good thing? Because as I was thinking through it, I was like, has anyone ever even done that? Has anyone ever even gone back to their original team? And shockingly, yes, there have been a decent number of players who have actually gone back to their teams. Now, it's been mixed results. Some of it, fairly good. Some of it not so fairly good. But it's certainly been so. Like Cam Newton went back. He was the MVP. Went to the Super Bowl with the Carolina Panthers. Left and came back and was not very good for a season. Randy Moss went back to Minnesota for an uneventful season. There have been some players who have actually had some success in returning, some significant success, but I wonder how I would feel going back, and I actually did want to go back to the Miami Dolphins at one point, and would have loved to have gone back there, but it wasn't to be. But I just wonder if as a player, what actually you would I don't know. Would you be better? Would you feel better? Would it, is it trying to relive the glory days, the old moments, the old things? And I don't know that you can do that. And I think it would be kind of a challenging thing. But I was actually surprised at the number of players who have gone back. Now, is OBJ going to be effective for the Giants? Yeah, probably not. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I don't know, I think a lot of people say I'd rather give birth than resurrect the dead, meaning I'd rather not bring a player back who'd already been here as opposed to let's find some young new talent and see what we can do there. I mean, who knows? But certainly an interesting thing. And it really caused me to go, has it ever even happened? And there have been some interesting experiences of players actually going back to excuse me, to their old teams. Okay. In fact, there's a couple I want to share with you, so I'm gonna share them with you. How about that? Oops. Maybe not. Maybe not. We'll see. We shall see. Yeah. So actually, the one that I really wanted to point out was Michael Bennett. Michael Bennett actually was with the Seahawks and went back to the went to Tampa Bay and then came back and had his best years after he returned. And that's really the only one. I don't even know why I'm saying any of this, but regardless, yeah. So there you have it. So Michael Bennett, he's the only one. No, I'm just kidding. But there have been a significant number, and they've come back. Now, I know that we haven't talked about this, and I know that's really important that we do talk about it because I'm sure that it's going to change everyone's lives here, and that is Shedeur Sanders is now, because we haven't talked about Shedeur in a long time, and so Shedeur's shaking things up. He's going from 12 to 2. So he's going back to his number 2 jersey that he wore at Colorado and made a big deal about all of this. But the interesting thing is there's a real possibility of Deshaun Watson being the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. And I think that would just be poetic justice that he would actually do that. And we'll see what happens. All right. We're going to take a break. And then when we come back, Martin has a question he wants to ask me about potential teams to play for going into the draft. So we'll talk about that and more when the Down and Dirty returns.
Hey, it's Matt Mosley of The Matt Mosley Show. We want you to watch our show every day, 1 to 3 on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. And you get to see big name guests like Gary Patterson, Art Briles, Scott Drew, Doug McNamee, major Cowboys insiders, ESPN legends like Sal Palantonio. When news breaks on Cowboys or Baylor or NFL, we want you to look here first. 1 to 3 weekdays, it's the Matt Mosley Show.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us on our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Hey, it's Zach Gelb. We're talking NFL and college football. Plus, we have some of the biggest interviews in sports media. You got to check out the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports, weekdays, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 to 3 p.m. Central. And make sure you subscribe to my channel, youtube.com/@ZachGelbShow.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. Down and Dirty, Scott Mitchell. So glad you could be a part of our day. Love being a part of your day. Love being back in the saddle. So nice to be riding along. And of course, I got Martin joining me right now. Martin had a question for me regarding my time moving, going into the NFL draft. And so, Martin, what's your question about the draft, and what do you want to know?
Well, we've heard your story about working out and stuff like that for the draft, and we've heard your story about getting picked in the 4th round. I would say this question isn't like pertaining to any of that per se, but like, was there a team you wanted to work out for? Was there a team you wanted to get drafted by? Like, obviously you landed in Miami. Like, you couldn't have asked for a more mature, ready team for you to start off your NFL career with. But was there a team you were just like, I want to go join that team at all cost?
Wow. So I had an interesting conversation. There's several, actually. There really are. There's several teams. And ironically, the Miami Dolphins were probably, it felt like the least interested team in me. Like I like, they came out of the blue. Like, I'm like, huh? I got drafted. What? The Miami, like, that was the shocker of all shockers when I went to the Dolphins. And there's a kind of a side story about how it kind of happened, but I had been worked out by David Shula, who was Don Shula's son, and he was the quarterback coach for not the Miami Dolphins, but the Dallas Cowboys, and they had drafted Troy Aikman, and then they had picked up Steve Walsh in the supplemental draft. And David was just like, look, I don't know where our quarterback situation is. I don't know, it's still in flex here. We're not going to be picking a quarterback, but I'd love to work you out. And so I worked out for David Shula and had an incredible workout. It was phenomenal. It was just, it was probably the best workout I had when I was coming up for the draft. Now I didn't know. And I didn't have any receivers to throw to. I was just kind of on an island by myself. I had no preparation. It was just what I did on my own. And I didn't have a pro day. There was nothing like I was the only pro at Utah at the time. Like, there was nobody else that was going into the draft at that time. And so it was so David Shula, anyways, he had talked to his dad, and he said, man, he goes, the guy I really like in the draft is that Mitchell guy at Utah. He blah, 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 all this stuff. So that was a lot of how I got drafted by the Miami Dolphins, was David Shula's recommendation to his dad. Now, the team that I wanted to go to, as I said in the beginning of this, is I had a conversation with Mike Holmgren, and this was at the combine, and he was talking to me, and he goes, our head coach George Seifert is adamant about not drafting underclassmen. So 1990 was the first year of a mass exodus of underclassmen, which in all reality, actually, I think possibly could hurt you, and it hurts you in the sense that, and I just realized this after all these years, that the draft just got influxed with a ton of talent. And there were a lot of guys that came, Emmitt Smith, Junior Seau, a lot of, 5 or 6 Hall of Famers in that, and they were all underclassmen. So, it really kind of pushes you potentially down the chart. Whereas, because the draft has just been inundated with a lot of talent that they weren't expecting. And in some regards, it's almost better if you waited till the next year. But no one's smart enough to think about that until years later. Regardless, so I have this conversation with Mike Holmgren, who's a quarterback coach for the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm just like, wow, that like if there was a team that you wanted to go play for, it was the 49ers. I mean, everyone in the whole entire sports world said the way they treat the players, the organization, from top to bottom, just everything, first class this and that, and then on top of it, it's the system. And Mike Holmgren goes, man, I just really feel like you would fit in this West Coast system so nicely. And I actually agree with him. I think I would have. But he goes, but our coach is he's just so adamant about not taking an underclassman, which I was. I was a junior. And he goes, I don't know that I agree with him. And who knows what's going to happen in the future, but we certainly are always looking for quarterbacks because it's such an important part of our system and where we are and what we're doing. And so of course underclassmen became a significant part of the draft, and it's kind of become, but it was kind of the early days, like NIL. It's like, man, if a player leaves my program and gets in the transfer portal and does all that, they're not coming back here. They're dead to me. And so it's kind of changed a lot, but it was a lot, that situation. So certainly the San Francisco 49, anyone would be a fool not to go and say, yeah, I want to go play for them. It's like Kyle Whittingham going, yeah, Michigan offered me. You'd be a fool not to go take that. There's just certain places and that was certainly one of them. Now another team who actually because you talked about wanting you to work, like the Washington. I thought I was going to go to the Washington Redskins. And I really wanted to go to the Washington Redskins, Joe Gibbs, and there was just something, I don't know, there's just something about the Redskins. There was something about they're the Commanders now, but at the time they were the Redskins, all that stuff. And so I went, met with Coach Gibbs, the whole thing, and just really that's where I hoped and prayed. And they had talked to, they came. They had me come out for tests and worked me out and did all these things. And they kept talking to me during the draft. And I think that was the hardest part of the draft. And so it was the communication that you have with teams. So what you have is you go, typically teams take the best talent when it's their turn to pick. And that's why I'm saying with the influx of all this talent, it's like there's only so many teams that need a quarterback, and they're going to pick those quarterbacks kind of when it's prudent for them to do it. And they go, well, here's, at the time, Blair Thomas, the second player picked in the draft, and, didn't really have a great career or anything, but he was certainly a great college player. There were a lot of guys, that anyways. So it's just a hard thing when there's so much talent and these teams are calling you and they're like, yeah, we really want to take you, but this player, it's a higher grade on this player, and had this player not been here, maybe whatever. So, but they kept calling. And the New York Giants or the Jets kept calling, and the New England Patriots kept calling. There are all these teams that just kept calling before the draft, and it was really hard. Now that was hard in the draft, but the other part of it was kind of, there were other teams that I would have loved to have gone to, and one of them, and they weren't as good at that time. Of course, it's the sentimental pick, the Houston Oilers. And it was a real thing for me, that they were my team growing up, and I was a big fan of the Oilers, and I loved their uniforms. I loved the Houston Oilers. I loved them, and I thought they were that powder blue and that red and the oil derrick. I just liked that, and of course I fell in love with it as a kid, and so there's that sentimental pick to you. But then there's another thing where, like, you kind of you have these teams, but you also don't. And it's kind of one of those things where when players are recruited and they go, I want to go where I have an opportunity to play, and I don't care of past success. I believe that I have what it takes to make it into future success, like a change agent, someone who's going to do something for the program moving forward. And so for me, it really, it really became before the draft, where is the very, very best opportunity for me? And that might have been a little foolish on my part because it's not just being able to play. You really have to be in a situation where it's playing in a good organization, in a good system, and on a team that has the potential to be good or is working and building towards being a really competitive and good team. That's what creates longevity for you. And you can be out of the league in a hurry in the wrong situation, and you might be the right player, but it's just a wrong situation. So I was massively disappointed when I was drafted by the Miami Dolphins. Like, I was just crushed, and I turned out absolutely loving it, and it was incredible. It was one of the top experiences of my life, and it was truly amazing. So I just really yeah, I think it's funny in life how you have these things happen and you just go, that's not really that's a disappointment, and it turns into be just an absolute treasure trove. So there you have it. I mean, there's kind of, it's like I would have loved to play for the Cowboys too, but the Cowboys they already had like a bunch of it just, even the 49ers, it's just, and at the time you go, I'd never want to play for the Green Bay Packers back in 1990, but later on, yeah, and I don't know that anyone would want to play for the Miami Dolphins right now, so there's certainly these trends in how things, in my time, would I want to go play for the Seattle Seahawks? Not in a million. I think the Seattle Seahawks, Martin, had the ugliest, most nasty uniforms in the entire world. Now, I think it's changed, but in 1990, no, I thought they were just hideous. I thought the Detroit Lions uniforms were hideous. I hated I hated the Lions uniforms when I just hated them. But
until you wore them.
No, even when I wore them, I was like, but I love the Miami Dolphin uniform. Like,
well,
yeah.
Okay, let's I'll put you on the spot right here. Would you trade all of the knowledge and stories you have about Don Shula and Dan Marino and the Dolphins if it meant that you did get drafted by the Cowboys and you won back-to-back Super Bowls? At least if you make it at least through the 94 season, you would have been a back-to-back champion. Would you trade that? Super Bowls for stories.
Well, but it's more than stories. It's
the relationships, right? It's the mentorship, right?
I don't think there's anything that trumps a Super Bowl, Martin. I don't. I think for every true. I think and maybe there's some players that don't care. Maybe they're just like, whatever, I don't care. I want to make as much money as I can, and whatever. Because there's some players, it's just all about the money. And and I don't think there's anything wrong with that either, because it's a tremendous opportunity to take care of your family, whatever. It wasn't what was most important to me. The most important thing to me was winning a Super Bowl above anything else. It's just how I was wired. It's how I'm wired. And the disappointment of that still lingers in me today. So yeah, I would take the Super Bowl. I would. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, speaking of disappointment, Mark Cuban is not happy that he sold the Dallas Mavericks, and kind of has buyer's remorse a little bit. We'll talk about that and so much more when the Down and Dirty returns.
Hi, my name is Mike Lacey. I'm with Beyond the Game, a new podcast to the Rogue Media Network. Just when you thought you'd had a little bit too much about BYU, here we are to provide you even a little bit more. I, as part of the BYU group, am grateful that we're part of the Big 12 and really grateful that we're part of the Rogue Media Network. Thank you.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. The luxury and confidence of premium clad stainless steel meets scratch defense extreme non-stick that won't scratch ever. With an ultra-thick aluminum core for high-performance heating. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance of clad stainless steel. Scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Are you looking for top-shelf sports talk about the West Virginia Mountaineers, where you can get objective analysis, but with the passion of a fan? Well, look no further than right here at Couz's Corner. I am Justin Couz Walker, the host of Couz's Corner, and you can find my show on demand over at YouTube. Most shows are uploaded by 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also check out my live post-game reaction shows. My special guest interviews, you can find it all on YouTube at Couz's Corner. Go check it out.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back down to Dirty. Scott Mitchell. So glad you could be a part of what we're doing today. Have an interesting thing happening here. Of course, Mark Cuban, you know who he is, right? Mark Cuban is the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, or he was, and he no longer is the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. And gosh darn it, he's not happy about it, and he wishes that he actually still owned the team. And I thought this was an interesting kind of position to take for Mark Cuban. And here's the thing, you know, Mark Cuban has been known to say some pretty polarizing things, whether it's something like this, or of course with the Shark Tank, which is really fun to watch, or his political views, or, you know, he's a guy that will move the needle. He's the guy that certainly is not shy about the camera and about his own opinions. And a lot of times his opinions are pretty stark, and they're pretty sharp. You know, I mean, he's admitted that I like tanking. I think it's a good part of the NBA. And I think he blatantly admitted to Digo's tanking got me Luka, you know, and Luka is, you know, just been this incredible player in the NBA right now. And it's and so, you know, he's a guy that's not shied away from these things, but he recently was on a podcast, and he came out and he made a statement about you know, just kind of what's hard about owning a team. And of course he wishes that, you know, he kind of said a lot of things. He says, I wish I didn't sell it. Wish I didn't sell it to maybe who I sold it to. And I kind of maybe wish I had it back. And it's like, there's a part of me that first says, well, you know, it sounds like a first world problem, right? You buy this thing for $225 million, you sell it for just shy of $4 billion, and you still own 27% of the team. So it's kind of, it sounds like a Shark Tank thing. It's like, yeah, some guy tried to sell me a basketball franchise in Shark Tank. And so I would say that's a pretty good return on your investment. Just saying. And he alludes to this. He goes, look, the only thing that's different for me is my bank account. And that's a significant bump in the bank account, right? But you know, when you kind of get to that status in life, like I've been there, I'm not. It's not about the bank account. I mean, he's just saying that. He goes, look, this isn't about the bank account. It's about, you know, having something, being a part of something that is an extremely exclusive opportunity to be a part of. These owners of these franchises, you know, in the NBA, I think there's 30 franchises. So there's 30 people in the world that own one of these. It's just 30. And it's a massively popular sport. It's opportunity to be an owner, but it also is challenging too. And he brings this up. He says, he says, it can be very abusive. And if fans don't like what you're doing or the team's not doing well, you're the worst human being on the planet, and they treat you that way. Now, I think as an athlete, you kind of, I don't want to say you get jaded to this, or you just get prepared for it, maybe in some regard. I think, because we all want to be liked. I mean, that's the bottom line. Everyone wants to be adored and respected and go, oh, you're amazing. You're wonderful. I mean, it's probably why we do this. It's probably why we play these sports, probably why we own these things, is because we want the adoration of many to say good job. And when when that goes south on you, then it's like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not really comfortable with this. I don't know that I like this type of thing. And I really saw this with the Ford family and the Detroit Lions, and how a lot of the decisions, and that's part of the challenge of being an owner, is a lot of the decisions then become emotional. You're just like, and you can almost see where you go, well, let's get rid of Luka Doncic. And Luka's having a phenomenal year. He's one of the top players in the NBA to begin with. And you're like, what the freak are you doing that for? Like, that's got to be the most idiotic, insane thing you could ever do. And yet when you're this owner and you have this, like, everyone please like me mindset, you do dumb things like that. And it explains a lot of things. I remember getting into coaching, and I was coaching high school football at the time, and people said, look, these young men, their bodies, their minds just haven't fully developed yet. So you're going to see some pretty dumb things. And it's kind of like that with owners, where the owners are, their minds may be fully developed, but they're going to do some pretty dumb things. And you see that across the board. I mean, Jerry Jones makes a living off of doing dumb, emotional things, and admits that he does. It's not even like, hey, I'm not even trying to shock you or surprise you or do anything like that. And so I think it's I appreciate Mark Cuban, some of the candidness of this, that he talks about the emotional component to everything that's going on. And so you look at like Luka, right? And where Luka is having maybe the best year of his life. But do we remember when Luka came back at the beginning of the year and he looked like a Greek goddess or god? I guess he'd be a god. And maybe he's both. Maybe he's a god and goddess. But he looked phenomenal. And you have to wonder too, if maybe some of that is part of the, okay, I had kind of a wake-up call, because I surely didn't see a trade coming, and maybe he really liked Dallas. I don't know. But for him to go like from Dallas to the Lakers, and to see where the Lakers are this year, like the Lakers have a legitimate shot, whether they do or they don't. I mean, you have Luka and you have LeBron. Anything's possible. You kind of, it plays out the right way, and what have you. They may be in a good spot, and at least competing significantly. And I think that's what people want to have. But so you get in these situations with these owners, and you just go, wow, that was really stupid. And but it also kind of kindles a new spirit in a lot of people. Now, I don't know that I don't know that it's that ever changes. I know that I'm a little concerned about ownership in sports in general, for this very reason, for these really stupid things. And I think a lot of it is, and maybe the stupid goes away, because and maybe it doesn't. Like, I don't know. So let me explain. If you have to have billions of dollars in order to buy these teams. And the only way that you can, typically you're pretty smart in business and you don't make a lot of dumb emotional decisions. And so now you have this franchise, and if you treat it like kind of your business and you treat it non-emotionally and you understand kind of how it works, like how to succeed at it, then maybe you maybe there's more success in these leagues because people are making better and more sound decisions. Now, the flip side of that, it can be, look, I made all my money doing something else. This is a toy. And if you think of a toy or like a, like you have a boat or you have a jet ski or, a yacht, whatever it is, you're like going out and you're just having a good time with this. Like there's no consequence to it. It's just like, it's enjoyment. It's just like, yeah, this is fun. So let's go and let's just, let's go on the yacht. Let's go on the boat. Let's go on whatever. And I'm sure that's the way with these teams, because people who own these teams now become the front page story. And I think that's the biggest appeal of these ownership. Mark Cuban, we don't really know about Mark Cuban. We may to some degree. And you have to wonder, does Mark Cuban, is he as big as he is without this? I mean, now you just have some of the older people, the more traditional blue blood names in the NFL. I think in NFL circles, they're well known. In the sports world, for the most part, they're well known. I don't know that everyone knows the Ford family, meaning the Ford auto giant. I don't know that, maybe a lot of people don't know that they own the Lions. It's like, I've had people go, oh, I didn't know that. But these new names, had a name from something else. So maybe we're just going to be stuck with these very highly volatile, emotional, I don't want to say sensitive, but clearly can be influenced by negative comments. And it's like, I have to imagine, you're in the business world, and it's like, reviews kill our business. So we need 5-star reviews all the time. And to not get a 5-star review is like, it's death to our business. And so maybe all this panic sets in and they just go, I don't know about that. All right, let's take a break. We come back. This is an interesting topic. NFL assistant coaches, should they be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? This is a great question. We'll try to answer it when the Down and Dirty returns.
If you want a Boston sports show that's going to insult you as a fan and only cares about getting back at their old hosts or who Bill Belichick is dating, then keep tuning your radio. But if you want a sports show that's wicked good, wicked smart, wicked passionate, then you need the Wicked Boston Show with me, Cam Stewart. It is the only Boston sports talk show that is by the fans and for the fans. One voice in this city where the only BS is Boston sports. The Wicked Boston Show.
You probably get unwanted emails almost every single day.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. Down and Dirty. That's right. That's us. We hope you're getting down and dirty like we are every day. So I know I've been down, that's for sure, and kind of a little dirty. But I'm back. I'm back in the saddle. I had pneumonia, and I had some residual impact from it. It was not good. Put me in the hospital like 3 different times. So, but I am back and ready to go. Okay, this is a very, very interesting question. It's like it goes to that who belongs in the Hall of Fame, right? And of course, so the question was, should assistant NFL coaches be in the Hall of Fame? And you're like, at first blush you go, well, yes, but if they can't get Bill Belichick in on the first ballot, how in the world are they ever going to solve assistant coaches getting into the Hall of Fame? Like, I don't know. Now the Pro Football Hall of Fame is actually, they give a distinguished service. The Hall of Fame does for NFL assistant coach. We had Tom Moore, who's, I believe he's 90. He coached for 49 years in the NFL. 49 years, almost my entire life. He coached in the NFL. And I'm a little bit older than 49. I'm 49 and a half. Anyways, he got a distinct, so they what's interesting is Mike Westhoff, who is one of the we'll have to get Mike on the show. He was a long time NFL special team coach. And was phenomenal. He's great when I was with the Dolphins. He's great, his whole career there, and went to the Jets, and he's been quite a few places. Very well respected. And here's the thing. The other side of this that's also really interesting is some of these other people, because, and I'll tell you why. So you have Mike Westhoff, and you have Bob McKittrick, who is the offensive line coach for the 49ers, and really was one of those guys that they he's like one of the architects of the 40. He was a staple with the 49ers in their offensive line. He was with them for over 21 years. Mike Westhoff, I think, has coached for like 33 seasons in the NFL. And he really, why I point these two out. And of course, Ted Cottrell is the other one. So it's an award of excellence. But there are two coaching positions that no one really wants to coach. They're not the sexy picks. They're not. And that's the offensive line coach. And you got to have one, and you got to have a good one. And if you're a good offensive line coach, you're gonna have a long career. If you can really do a good job with that O-line, you're gonna be something. And the other one is a special teams coach, because nobody wants to be the special teams coach. Nobody. And it's like, oh yeah, I'll do it. And it's challenging, because you're not getting necessarily the very best players. I mean, you're getting very good players. You're getting hodgepodge. You're getting players that I don't know how much they really want to be there, kind of thing. And it's that third segment of the game. Everything's focused on offense. Everything's focused on defense. And it's like, just don't screw up the special teams. There's nothing special about special teams. And they're making it weird now with all the rules in the NFL, and how they've tried to change it up and do all these crazy things with it and whatever. It's certainly gone away from the tradition of the kicking game, and it's certainly been minimized. And it's like, I wonder, because I'm thinking about this as I'm talking about this. I'm wondering if the NFL goes, look, we got to find ways to minimize like high-speed collisions. And we can't mess with the offense. We can't mess with the defense. I mean, we're kind of messing with them. We've changed the rules about, some of the contact, some of the way people tackle, all of that stuff. But where we're making the most significant or dramatic shifts and changes is to the special teams. And it's like we can kind of give that one up. That's okay. We'll just, if we gotta make concessions somewhere, we're gonna certainly find it at that spot as opposed to our vaunted offense and defensive sides of the ball. So again, the special teams takes the brunt of all the bad things that happen. They just do. That's just how it is. It's always been that way. And I don't know that it's right or wrong. Some coaches have leaned into special teams, and it's been a huge they've won Super Bowls actually having kind of this special team mindset. So, and I think the team that won the Super Bowl this year had that mindset. I know the Baltimore Ravens '99 had a phenomenal return game. So, yeah, this is special teams is an interesting thing. So you have these coaches, and it's just it's not that coaches who get in the Hall of Fame should be special teams coaches or offensive line coaches. It's just that if you typically find these special teams coaches and line coaches to stick around a long time because no one wants to be that coach. And you really have to have and all the really good special teams coaches, the good line coaches, they all have just this gregarious personnel. They're like Patton, they're just they go to the beat of their own drummer. That I don't know how they're a little bit outlawish. They're a little bit kind of their own thinker, their own whatever, because they have all the leverage. Because they're like, look, you need me. I am the guy. So that there you go. And so I just thought that was interesting. Mike Westhoff it was fun to be in his meetings because he would just go, look, if you don't pick this up, and Coach Shula would be in the meeting, goes, we will cut you today. And so every player, because these guys were under threat of being cut every day as it was, because they're the backups, right? And so he would push those needles hard. And but what an amazing coach, an excellent coach. Now I was the holder and hated it. And that's my life on special teams, was just being a holder, and that's kind of it. And it is, and it was what it was. But to get to the point of should they be in the Hall of Fame, and I said yes, and I say yes for this because these coaches were amazing, and they were as integral a part of the success of the NFL, of the teams, of everything that's going on. There's no question. There's certainly. I mean, because look, it's like you have head coaches, and a good head coach is smart enough to put good people around them. Now they put their thumb on things. They make sure things get done right. They're on top of these coaches. They're doing their thing, but they're also they wouldn't have the success they had without a lot of these players or these coaches. And so it's absolutely one of those things where you go, oh, by all means, please have one of these coaches. Now, that being said, there are a lot of bad coaches in the NFL. They're just not very good. You're just like, huh, what? And the coaching world is the most, nepotistic, the most the most good old boy club in all of sports. And I would say that in the NFL above anything else. And a lot of it is because Well, let's just say, like, you don't need a great coach at every position. You don't. And you don't get them at every position. I mean, you're fortunate if you get a guy, and it's like the tight end coach. It's like the wide receiver coach. It might be the safety coach. It might be the linebacker. I mean, you know, um, you just don't have great coaches. You have loyal coaches, and they're like, whatever the head man wants is what I'm going to do. And I just remember getting to the NFL. Now it was kind of hard because there's it's maybe a little dramatic to say that there are a lot of bad coaches in the NFL. When you go to a system that's been in place for a long time, like they just know it well, and they know it like the back of their hand, and there's a lot of information they give you that's really good. There are other places where it's a new system, or and it's just the coordinator. Like, the coordinator is the one that really runs the show, and you have these assistant coaches that you meet with, like the quarterback coach or whatever, and they're the messenger. They're like, here is what we're installing today. Let's talk through it, and let's just and we'll put it on the table, and so that's how. That's kind of how it plays out. And so for as many really good coaches as there are in the NFL, there are certainly some bad ones. And so, the NFL should absolutely have coaches in the Hall of Fame, assistant coaches, and they really, it's almost like they need to kind of revamp the whole thing as far, as far as, like, whether it's categories or, old players and coaches and head coaches and assistants and owners. And I don't really see any reason why there could be more categories. I know their whole thing is like, these speeches, the day it goes on forever. It's a long grinding process, and it's certainly a challenging thing to go through. And we put more of these people in because everyone's going to want their day. Right. They're all going to want to go, man, I want to be the guy. I want to, I want to this and that, whatever. So we'll see. But yeah, Mike Westhoff, Bob, all these guys, Ted Control, they're amazing, amazing coaches, been around a long time, and certainly belong to get in. Well, we belong to go to a break. And when we come back, I think we're going to play Would You Rather. So Martin's got a Would You Rather when the Down and Dirty returns.
The Pete Souza Show, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. You want to talk NFL draft? I don't know. How about we get you Todd McShay? You want to talk Big 12? We can get you the commissioner. Somebody about the Cowboys? How about we have on the owner, Stephen Jones? Pop culture? Michelle Beadle. I mean, we will bring on the people that you want to hear from. And these people don't join us because of me. They join us because of you. You got to watch this show, okay? It's got everything you need. Sports, hijinks, laughs. Did I mention hijinks? We'll see you on the Pete Souza Show. Now, we are under the 365 Sports umbrella. Check it out. I'm wearing a Tulane shirt. No idea why.
It's the Pete Souza Show. Sports, Pete.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Sports don't stop, and neither do we. Welcome to 365 Sports, your home for real conversations, original shows, and coverage that lives where sports actually happen. Join David Smoke, Craig Smoke, and myself, Paul Catalina, for in-depth interviews and local stories to the moments national media misses. 365 Sports brings you the voices, debates, and perspectives fans care about every single day. Subscribe now on YouTube, search 365 Sports, and never miss a moment because sports aren't seasonal. They're 365.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell here. I got my Patrick Mahomes voice on, and it sound like Kermit the Frog. And I'm not trying to do that. No. Anyways, so glad you could be back here on the show. Martin is joining me in this segment, and we're going to play a little game called Would You Rather. Would you rather is a scenario between one or the other things. And Martin always comes up with some great questions. You can play at home. You all get a gold star if you participate, and we're always shooting for that gold star on our forehead every day. So without further ado, Martin, let's play Would You Rather.
Yeah, let's have some fun with that one today. Scott, let's jump right into it. Would you rather see the NFL replace their refs with replacement refs once again, or wait until the PA and the NFL rep union get this squared away?
Well, boy, that's a tough one. Because it's like one of the, like, I don't like delays. I think delaying the season, bad thing. So work stoppages, all that stuff. No one wins in those situations. Everyone bows their chest and this and that and whatever. But really at the end of the day, I don't think well, I can't totally argue that, because there were work stoppages in the NFL, which ultimately resulted in free agency. And now we have a $375 million salary cap. So maybe work stoppages are a good thing. Referees are an extremely important part of the NFL, and their happiness and their effectiveness is critical. It's just critical. And even as good as they are, they still miss stuff. And there's always debates about conspiracy, and they're favoring certain teams over other teams. And there certainly is a human element that goes into being an official. I mean, you're just human, right? We all have our internal biases. It's just part of the thing. So it's really important. It was not good before, and it won't be good again. I mean, if they have replacement officials again, referees, it will not be good. It's because they're just not it's not that they're not potentially capable. They're just not seasoned. They're just not prepared. Now, and I think the NFL realized this. I think maybe in the past they didn't have as much work with them, in getting up to speed on things and how the game. Because I'll just tell you, the NFL game is lightning fast compared to the college game. It's not even close. How much the pace is so much different. And for that, their eyes are just not used to it. They're just and it'll just be a blur to it. They just go, I don't know. Is it first down or third down? I don't even know what down it is. It's just, so I really, as crazy as it sounds, I think I'd just rather have the regular refs come back and wait.
All right, I like that one. I like that. Wait until the NFL refs come back.
I can't believe I said that, but I just did.
I definitely remember that Monday night game. Was it Seattle and Green Bay, where you had the one ref that was oh, it's a touchback. You had the other one that was a touchdown. Those referees came back and did that to the Green Bay Packers for a whole entire season. They've become my best friends. I'm just saying. I would enjoy that very much. I'm just saying. All right, Scott.
So you're in favor of officials just screwing the Packers, and however that happens, then you're fine with that. That's what you'd rather have.
Absolutely. The world keeps going around and wakes up every day.
I don't see a problem with that, Martin.
I don't see a problem with it either.
I think that's a great strategy. I like that.
I love it. I'm going to get on it. All right, Scott, would you rather see the NFL completely just become a flag football league, or stick with the traditional game until it lasts?
Hasn't it already become a flag football game?
Getting hit as hard as you did before, that's for sure.
Well, it's still very physical, And if you've ever played flag football, it's pretty physical. And if you watch the NFL players play flag football, they certainly didn't play it like the flag footballers did. It was like they want contact, they look for contact. So I think I think it's still a very traditional game. It's we've talked a little bit about some of these changes and how the kickoff is different and just some of these enhancements. And you have to wonder if it gets to a point where it's like Coca-Cola. They go, we've changed Coke to new Coke. It's a different formula. And it bombed miserably. Like, it was like, what are you doing? We love the traditional Coke. Like, you guys have to be off your rocker to change the formula for Coca-Cola. It's been tried and tested for generations, for decades, and you want to change it now? Are you dumb and stupid? And I think that's kind of the same with the NFL. This is the freaking moneymaker. Like, the NFL is it's the thing. And why do you want to, in the interest of whatever, I don't know, whatever. Now, as long as it's like health and all those things, but if the NFL, if the NFL becomes a flag football league, it's going to be like the Boy Scouts of America becoming the Scouts of America. It's going to die. It was designed a certain way. It was designed to be a certain way. And if they change the NFL and they get into this, flag football thing, it's not going to be good. Now, part of why they're maybe doing the flag football thing is to avoid a lot of the contact, so that these players they're not exposed to as much of it as at a younger age. I don't know, but it's flag football is kind of. I wouldn't want to watch it. I would not watch flag football if that was what the NFL became. Not in a million years. So I definitely want to stick with the traditional game. Don't change the formula of Coca-Cola, please.
I'm right there with you. Let the game last until it doesn't last anymore. All right, Scott, if you didn't watch that flag football game, then you missed out on Tom Brady once again showing why he should still be playing at almost near the age of 50. Okay. Should Tom Brady want to come back and play in the NFL or stay in retirement?
I don't know why Tom Brady makes this state. I mean, look, there was a long period of time after I retired from football, and it wasn't my choice. No one wanted me, and don't feel sorry for me, but I was like, man, I could still play. I mean, and I don't know when that went away. Speaking of flag football games, we had alumni flag football games at the University of Utah and played in them, and and the juice still flows, and you still have and you still have it's all about the it's like your mind's always there, but it's the actual, like, can you physically do it? And it's not like, can you throw, because you can throw a lot of different ways in different places. You don't have to have the biggest arm in the world. You don't have to have still the strongest arm in the world. You just have to have enough arm to get it there at the right time and in the right place. That's all it is. It's just time and place. And when you're smarter, your anticipation's much higher. It's the physical, like, beating. That's the challenge of all of it. And your body is slower. And I think, I don't know, I can't remember. We had someone on the show and they just said, look at your tape now and then go look at your tape from 2 or 3 years ago and just kind of see, what's the difference in you and how you move. And if there's a significant difference, it's like, man, I would want to do it. Here's the reality. I'm always a proponent of these guys staying and playing like as long as they possibly can. I'm not offended by it. I don't care if they stink. I loved it when Phillip Rivers came back last year. I loved it. I don't care. Look, this is a dream job. It's a dream. It's, and if there's ever a chance to come back, whew, good for him. And even better for him that he didn't embarrass himself. But I don't care if he embarrasses himself. I really don't. A lot of people are like, oh, I'd never steep below this dignity of, becoming a character of myself. It's like, man, this is a special game, and any opportunity you have to go out there and play it, go for it and do it, and don't apologize for it. So I would love to see Tom Brady come back.
All right, I'm down for it. I think it'll be interesting to see him come back, but that's just depending on his body and what he feels like. But he looked pretty good in the flag football game. I'll give him that. All right, Scott. All the other leagues around the world on our side of the world, actually, are trying to expand to 32 teams, okay? The NBA has announced that they're expanding to 2 teams. The NHL has worked its way to 32 teams. The MLB is talking about trying to reach the 32 teams. But should the NFL expand on that and go to more teams? Should the NFL get bigger? Are there more markets to go to?
So you would rather the NFL stay at 32 teams or expand?
Yes.
Yeah, good question. So for me, I'd rather that they expand, but not necessarily here. Like I'm massively intrigued, and I know the NFL's moving in that direction. We're gonna wake up one day, and they're gonna go, oh, by the way, we've just created the European division of the NFL, and there's gonna and I'm sure they're studying this, like they're looking at the logistics of all of this. They're like, the travel, the whole, just everything, how it all fits together. Because right now, the World Cup is coming here in a short period of time, and it's a world event. And I think any time that we involve other countries and we involve other, parts of the world, it's where things are always most interesting. You look at how this World Baseball Classic and the four nations thing with hockey, and it brought out more in people, and you have people in other parts of the world embracing American football, and they want their teams to go to the Super Bowl, and then the Super Bowl really becomes a world event, and I've always felt that that was a great play, and quite frankly, I would love to see it, and I would have loved, and I've had this conversation before, but as a player, I was like, yeah, I'll go live in Europe for a seat. Like I'll go do that. I wouldn't, they're American players to go play basketball over there and whatever. So and for me, cultures are interesting. I love travel. I love to do all that stuff. So that's not hard for me. I know during the season, you're like, look, all I'm focused on is the season and doing all this stuff. But still, I think there's just something about this whole world event that just absolutely intrigues me. I don't want to see, a team in Memphis, and I don't want to see one, in San Antonio, and I don't want to see one in Sacramento, and I don't want to, I don't want to see another. I don't want to see one in Mexico, and I don't want to see one in Canada. Maybe, I would rather have that than, but I don't know how good our relationships are with these countries right now. I don't know how they are with anyone, but I would love to see the NFL in Europe, 1,000%.
I would in Europe would be interesting, just because would that then give them a reason to host a Super Bowl in Europe?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, the challenge with that, I don't. Yeah, probably at some point. I mean, initially, it's like, they just announced the Super Bowl coming back to Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, and of course, the NFL kind of moves around everywhere. It would be logistically more, but you think of like, I don't know, you think of like Fashion Week in Paris, France. People from all over the world go over to, or they have the Cannes Film Festival, whatever. And so, having the Super Bowl, somewhere, over in Europe like that, I don't think it's, a challenge for people, but it would be incredible. And it's almost one of those things where it's okay, we're going to have this new division, and to kick things off and to really get it going, we're going to have a Super Bowl come here. That's genius right there. So, and that would be one of those things where I'd go to that. I think you'd have a lot of people that would go like, yeah, I'm going to the Super Bowl in Paris.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be a good reason to pack up and do some fun ideas. I like that. That's a good way to talk about it. All right, Scott, here's the last one. All right. Would you rather see the leagues, the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, the NHL, okay, the 4 top leagues we have here on the other side of the pond, okay, back up this anti-moving bill by Bernie Sanders that's going through, or say no to it. Now, if you don't know what it is, or for everyone who's watching this who's wondering what it is basically a bill by Bernie Sanders that says that teams have to tell their cities if they can't come to a new stadium agreement that they're going to sell the team in a year, and that the local markets have a chance to buy it. Do you like this idea, or do you think it's a bit far-fetched for teams to have to justify why they're moving out of a city because they can't get a stadium deal done?
Well, we live in a free market society, and businesses move all the time. They relocate their headquarters. They relocate for all different types of reasons. And you're seeing, quite frankly, a lot of that. You see some of these businesses are moving to tax-friendly states like Texas, Florida. They're moving away from some of these tax-heavy states like California and New York, and they're free to do that. And that's kind of their thing. And these people are business owners. They're in the business of maximizing the value of what they have. And let's face it, the NFL is something that you can really maximize what it means. And if you're not getting that from your present location, you're not going to go, why am I losing money? Then I can go to this place and they're going to be massively excited. I mean, take the Utah Mammoth, and they were the Phoenix or Arizona Phoenix Coyotes in the NHL, and they were struggling. Yeah, they were struggling, right? And they've been a huge success with the Mammoth in Utah, because people here want that type of, it's entertainment, and they want that. And so you have to go where there's an appetite for what's going on, where there's a passion. And I think we mix the two up. I think, well, this is our team, it's our city, it's our identity, and it's like, well, yeah, but if your identity isn't willing to get behind the value of this and appreciate the value of it. I think you saw that in Kansas City, where they just go, Kansas said, we're more excited about the Chiefs than you are, kind of thing. And it's going to move. And people are going to go, oh, that's preposterous. That's, you're holding people's gun to their head. And it's like, well, no, it's a free market society. And we're just going where there's an interest for our business. I have a really good friend who runs a bunch of retail stores, and he's had stores in all parts of North America, even out in Hawaii. And he's like, I have to be where I have customers. And I it doesn't make sense for me not to do that. And at the bottom line, that's I don't know that Bernie Sanders can actually do this. I don't know that it's actually legal. So we'll see.
Yep, but we'll see what happens with that. You're absolutely right. All right, everyone gets to go home with a gold star to get to put it on top of the fridge and show it off later tonight when people ask about it. And yeah, I agree with you. I think it's unfair to stop businesses from moving, but I also am that traditionalist, Scott. I just when a team moves so many times, you gotta have to kind of put your foot down. Like the Rams moving from LA to St. Louis back to LA, or Oakland changing 200 times, or stuff like that. I think it gets over excessive when a team moves in more than once. You kind of that's kind of where I'm going with that.
Well, then you kind of you kind of you lose your identity. You've got to create some semblance of continuity and consistency in what you're doing. But like for you, I mean, would you still be a Bears fan if they moved to northwestern Indiana?
Yeah, I still would. Yeah, I've crossed that bridge where I'm like, okay, I can accept that they be in a new market, and if they succeed there, then you gotta let the fans that have accepted them in their new city to like them too. You gotta let them have their time too. So I won't be jealous. It would be tough. It would be hard. Like you brought up with the Arizona team, it's tough for probably Arizona Coyotes fans to watch their team be good in Utah when that team could have been them and they could be competing for a playoff spot right now. So I totally get your example. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting phenomenon. Great questions. I love those. So I love being put in the position of making a decision, and we do that. All right, folks, thank you for tuning in today. So glad you could join us. Come back tomorrow every day. Like and subscribe, do all that stuff. Thanks, Zach Martin, for all you do. This has been the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell. Until then, we'll see you then.